Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this live webinar where we're going to talk about how you can use PowerPoint when you're working with Proclaim church presentation software. Welcome to anyone who might be joining us throughout this broadcast. If you have questions while I'm working through the material, you can go ahead and put those over on the Faith Life page. I'm going to show you how you can access that really quick. So from here on faithlife.com, you'll want to make sure you navigate to the Proclaim group. If you're not a part of the Proclaim group yet, go ahead and search for Proclaim in the search bar. Once you find the group, just select and join that group. If you're not already following it, to follow, once you get to the page, you'll just choose the follow option that you'll be presented with. And when you get there, you'll see that today we're working with this live training that's occurring. And to go ahead and follow along with that, I'm just going to make it so that when I want to, I can comment on the broadcast that we're doing right now. And there's already a couple questions here. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through a lot of just the basic questions that come up when we're working with PowerPoint and Proclaim. And then once we're finished, if there's any questions that we have that have come in, we're going to take time to answer those. So I'm excited to have you all here with us. And today what we're going to do is just focus on the three primary ways you can use PowerPoint when you're working in Proclaim. So what I'm going to do is jump into Proclaim right now. Here we are in a Proclaim presentation. And let's chat a little bit about the ways that we interact with PowerPoint. Now, whenever I'm using the word PowerPoint, you can substitute in Keynote for the most part. If you're on Mac or on PC, the program's going to act pretty similarly. There might be a couple differences, and we'll get to some of those as we go along. But let's chat about the basics. So when you want to add a PowerPoint presentation in a Proclaim, generally that's because either someone already has created a presentation and they'd like to switch it over into Proclaim, or it might be because someone's just more familiar making things in PowerPoint, and so they want to build them in or add them into Proclaim as PowerPoint slides. There are a couple limitations when you bring a PowerPoint presentation into Proclaim. Essentially what happens when you do that is Proclaim converts your PowerPoint slides into images and creates a slideshow. And so let's do an example of that right now. I'm going to click on Add Item here in the upper left of the program. And you'll see that I have the ability to import from Keynote or from PowerPoint. So when I choose the Import from PowerPoint option, you'll see that I can go to my desktop, find a PowerPoint presentation like the one I have here, and I can choose to open it. And when I choose to open, I'm able to either upload and sync, or I can make it local to this computer only. And I can choose to add. And when I add it, what the program is doing is it's actually converting all of my PowerPoint slides into slides and images as a slideshow in Proclaim. Now the advantage to this is it's pretty easy to bring in my PowerPoint information I want to show, but the downside that you might run into is that every once in a while there's just going to be some limitations. One limitation is you won't actually be able to have your transitions or animations from your PowerPoint slides appearing the same way in Proclaim. Part of that's because they're two different programs with different ways they've been built. And part of that's because when you're bringing things in for Proclaim, the best way to do that was to turn it into image files. Now, the trade-off there is that you will be kind of losing not only some of the animation, but also sometimes when you're wanting to import from PowerPoint, you're going to run into the potential that the way that the program brings it in causes it to be a little bit different than how you intended it. So for example here, I just brought in this PowerPoint presentation. And you'll see that my first two slides are exactly how I had them when I was in PowerPoint. I had an image slide, I had 3 points, an anecdotal story, and I had some closing thoughts. But once I'm in Proclaim, you'll see that the first two slides are correct, but the third slide is a little bit cut off, and so is the fourth slide. And that's because one of the kind of ways that we bring this the images from your PowerPoint into Proclaim is through a third-party software, and sometimes that software, depending on the version of Keynote or of PowerPoint, doesn't always handle everything correctly. And so the best way to overcome this is you can actually export any PowerPoint or Keynote as images and then bring it really easily into Proclaim. So we're going to delete out this one, and we're going to talk about the way that you're able to bring in your PowerPoint slides. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my PowerPoint right here, and you'll see that when I go to File, I can save, and I have the ability to save as pictures. It's a little bit different if you're on a PC. I believe then you either want to go ahead and save and choose JPEG as your output, or sometimes there's an export option depending on what version of PowerPoint you're in on the PC. But here on Mac, I just choose the Save as Pictures option, And you'll see that I'm able to name it. So we're going to say Ruth Example Webinar PowerPoint. And we're going to save it right now. And what it does is it saves it and actually creates its own file with all of the slides in that file on my desktop. Now that I've saved it, what I can do is in Proclaim, I can choose Add Item, Image Slideshow. I can choose to add image, and I'm going to upload from my computer. And you'll see that right here we have the Ruth Example Webinar PowerPoint. So when I open that, all 4 slides are here, and I'm just going to select all of them. You'll notice it doesn't really matter what order I select them in. Once all are highlighted, I can open them. I can give a tag such as Ruth PowerPoint, which will make it easier for me to find these later. And then I have the option to upload and sync to my group or make it local to this computer only. For now, I'd like to go ahead and upload and sync it to my group. And you'll see that I added them in. And now all 4 slides are here, and they're also here with all the correct words and the layout the way I had them in PowerPoint. So you'll see that functionally, this is no different than when we did Add Item and we chose to import. But because, for whatever reason, when we tried to import, the version information was a little bit mismatched, consequently, the slides didn't come in correct. Now they are correct, and all it really took was the extra step of saving the images as in PowerPoint as in pictures as opposed to just importing straight. Now, many times you're going to be able to import just fine, no problems from PowerPoint or for Keynote, but for the occasion where it doesn't go as smooth as you'd like, this is a really great workaround to help take care of that. Now, there's 2 other primary ways that people can interact with PowerPoint and Proclaim. The second one actually requires you to be using a Mac computer. So if you are, not a Mac computer, a PC. If you are using a PC and working with PowerPoint and Proclaim, there's actually an option to not just import, but instead to share control of the PowerPoint slides while you're in Proclaim with PowerPoint. And I'm going to walk you through what that looks like, even though I'm on a Mac. And so to do that, I want to open up Proclaim here. And here we are in the program. You'll see that when you click on Add Item and you see the option to import from Keynote or PowerPoint, when you're on a PC, when you choose the import option and you find the PowerPoint presentation that you like, you'll see that there's an option here where it says either upload and sync, or it can say, do you want to give control to PowerPoint? And what this allows you to do is, as long as the presentation for your PowerPoint is on the same computer as where your Proclaim presentation is occurring, and as long as you're able to have both programs running at the same time, which should be very easy, you're able to actually basically let PowerPoint handle its own slides in Proclaim and then continue on in Proclaim away from PowerPoint once the presentation's over. And so an example of that is you'd add in your PowerPoint file. I'd be looking at, say, my songs. I would jump into my PowerPoint images, and then I'd jump into the rest of my sermon. But during the time where I was looking at the PowerPoint images, what would actually happen is the program would briefly connect over to PowerPoint, and it would allow you to present those slides, including the transitions and animations, because really it's just switching over to PowerPoint and then right back seamlessly within Proclaim. Again, to do this method, it does require that you be on a PC and that you have PowerPoint installed on the same computer as the one where you're presenting your Proclaim, and that you have the presentation you want locally on that computer in PowerPoint so that Proclaim can recognize it and work with it. So that option exists for people that want to keep the animations and transitions. It totally works. It's just something where you're going to have to be aware of kind of the steps involved. Finally, there's a third method that you can use to add in your presentations. And to go ahead and talk about this one, I'd like to go to the help section of our website. So I'm going to click on help here in the upper left and choose the view online help option. And from the view online help option, I'm just going to type in PowerPoint. So I can pull up the various articles that we have talking about PowerPoint. The first one goes over the basics of importing. If you want to refer to what we did today, you can find that here. The second one is going to chat about that workaround if the PowerPoint isn't importing properly due to version or other information. The one here will cover Keynote, very similar to PowerPoint. But this fourth article, this one called How Do I Add Web-Based Presentations to Proclaim? That's what I want to chat about here with you. There's a new method that we've been wanting to try out, and we have some people using, where you can actually add your PowerPoint presentations either through Google Slides or through the PowerPoint web app. And this article will help you walk you through that process. But essentially what you're doing when you're importing through that method is you're allowing the PowerPoint presentation to be put up on the web, and then a URL is generated for that presentation that you can put into Proclaim. And then to access that in Proclaim, you'll see here that from the Add Item menu, I can choose to add a web page. And then I just type in the URL that I have for that presentation, be it in the PowerPoint web app or in Google Slides. And once that's here, it creates a window where I can present to my congregation all of my slides that were part of my PowerPoint. That should keep all the animations and transitions that the web apps support. So it's just another way to go through that process. So again, those are the basics of using PowerPoint and Proclaim. You've got three basic methods. You can import from the Add Item menu. You can import on a PC from the Add Item menu and choose the option to share control with PowerPoint. Or you can put your PowerPoint presentations up on the web so that you're able to bring those in as a web item into Proclaim. That first method where you import is true for Keynote as well. The one where you share control with PowerPoint requires it to be on PowerPoint on a PC computer and locally on the same computer you're presenting from. So that's PC only. And the third method with the web page works for Mac and PC because you're hosting it up on the web. Again, Keynote's going to be really similar, and we talked about the workaround. If you're ever trying to import and for some reason the formatting becomes skewed in the process, all you need to do is go ahead and go into the PowerPoint or Keynote presentation, save it as images, and then create a slideshow out of those images. It's a really, really easy process. So we've just covered all the basics of using PowerPoint here in Proclaim. Now, I want to go ahead and leave room if anyone has any questions. I know there's a couple over on the Faith Life panel. So I'm going to jump over to those and answer those for us, and then we should be all set for the day. So we have one question that was asked, which is there a way to add musical notation to the song slides? I think that may have been from one of the other presentations that we were doing and trainings earlier. The short answer to that is not on song slides, so if you want to bring in images into a slideshow that have notation, you can certainly do that. Daniel asks, why do some presentations import flawlessly and others will mess up the font or the layout? And are there things to stay away from that seem to be the culprits? So again, that's kind of getting to the workaround that we've already discovered here, which is where you save your PowerPoint or your keynotes as images. And again, I'll show that really quickly one more time. If you're on a PC, or if you're on a Mac, then you just go to File, Save As, and you save as pictures. If you're on a PC, you can either save as JPEG images or you can export depending on the version. But again, and the reason that sometimes it's messed up, Daniel, that a lot of times is because the software that we use to make the transition so that it automatically brings in your slides from PowerPoint or Keynote can be a little bit fickle. And consequently, it can sometimes get the details wrong. And it's one of those things where it's third-party software that we are using to try and make that process easier. And so we don't have as much control over solutions and fixes as something where we do in Proclaim, where we're making it ourselves. And so currently, the best solution in the event that you do have the problem there is to go ahead and just use that workaround of saving as images. However, one thing that you are able to do oftentimes is if you just change the version, so from like PPT to PPTX, or if it's not working in Keynote, switching to PowerPoint and then importing, those are a lot of times ways that you can also get around it. So it's like there are many avenues of getting the PowerPoint slides the way you want them to Proclaim. I find that the saving as images and importing as a slideshow is probably the easiest for my workflow, but there's different ways you can do that. So those are the questions we have so far. I want to leave just a couple minutes here if there's any other questions that you might have. But it looks like we should be all set. Again, it's pretty simple. There's just a few ways that we work here with PowerPoint and Proclaim. But we'd love to make sure that those are available and that you know the solutions and the methods available to you. Again, if you want to access any of this information and you want to learn more about the various methods I've talked about today, then go ahead and just go over to the Proclaim Help website. And once you're there, if you just search for the word PowerPoint or Keynote, you will find plenty of these articles that will allow you to learn more, try out more solutions, etc. So thank you all so much for joining us here today. Appreciate you being here. And I hope this is really helping and a blessing to you as you use PowerPoint and as you use Proclaim to serve your churches. So we hope you have a great week, and God bless.